Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. I am your host, Duncan. And on the Firebelly Social Show, we speak to leading entrepreneurs and CEOs of mission-driven and food brands. And today, I'm so excited to say we have Dr. Jeremy Wise here from Rise 25, who has done thousands and thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and world leaders. And we have flipped the script today, and he will be interviewing us.
Duncan, I'm excited. I always learn something, especially around social media, because there's so much to gain by using social media properly, from authority, connecting with our clients, customers, and referral partners. So I'm excited to dig deep into that. And before we do, this episode is brought to you by Firebelly. If you don't know Firebelly, check them out, firebellymarketing.com. They make brands more likable and profitable through social media marketing. And I know, Duncan, from us discussing it, you provide organic and paid social strategies along with influencer marketing to help companies get ROI fast. And I know you're named one of the top 10 social media agencies in the world by Clutch. And, the funny thing is, you've helped clients, and you're a very humble guy, but you've helped clients like Netflix, Qdoba, Fiji Water, and many others transform their strategies. And if you have questions, you can email them hello@firebellymarketing.com. I never asked you this, Duncan, before, but I've always thought about it, which is why the name Firebelly?
Wow, that's both a great question and a long answer, but I'll try to do the short version. So in the summer of 1991, I was on a grant to identify emerging trends in small town America, also known as getting someone else to pay for my summer. And I got stuck outside my car. I locked myself out of my Dodge Shadow and on Highway 50, which is in the desert. It's one of the loneliest roads in America, at least in the lower 48. And
what state were you in?
Nevada.
Oh.
Nevada. Hot desert, and I'm on Highway 50 and I'm stuck outside. And I mean, not a lot of cars were going by, and the ones that were going by, weren't stopping. And so finally this guy, he's amazing, kind of beautiful American, Western kind of looking person. The old red Chevy stops, and he gets out and he comes up to me. He's a Native American dude. And he says, do you need help? And he helps me. And then we're talking.
Were you trying to get his attention on the road, or
yeah,
were you just,
I waved.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said, do you want some water? And I said, yeah, I'm very thirsty. Yes, no ice or anything in the car. So we're having, the water. And he says to me, he goes, you're traveling alone. Now this, you got to keep in mind, this is in the summer of 91. So, the first war in the Middle East and in the Persian Gulf, the conflict there was happening. And so I think he thought that maybe I might be Arab or Middle Eastern. And he said, so you're traveling alone? And I said, yep. I am. I'm like, how's it going? It's really good. And he goes, you must have a lot of fire in your belly, traveling alone in a strange land. And I just was so captivated by that. I thought, I don't know what to do with it, but what is a fire belly? And he said, well, it's a Native American term, for people who have courage. And I just kind of filed it away. And, that was me driving in 35 or 36 states by myself and no cell phone. And, I think it's sort of a little metaphor to us, as a team going at it, working with big companies, working with small companies, and in the early days, kind of pioneering our way into a new field and, just being determined to be the best in that field. So I think that it's interesting because it was originally my approach, and now it's the whole team's approach.
I love it. And fire in the belly. Let's talk about, what some of the things that make a company is in their DNA, is their values, and the values are the people they attract, and also the clients and customers they attract. And I would love to hear, I know you have FIRE values.
That's right. That's right. It was a kind of a collaborative thing we did, and then our VP, Chad Richards, who's been with me on the whole journey, working on this together from day one. He kind of made it all work in an acronym. We took the values, and it just still happens to be FIRE, so we call them the FIRE values, but focus, integrity, reliability, and excellence. And I have to confess to you, I have a fear sometimes that when I'm saying it, I'm going to forget the reliability part, which would just be hilarious in itself, right?
Well, it's funny. Like, I love the book, The 4 Agreements, and I can't even remember all 4 of the agreements most of the time, even though I've listened to the book like 6 times. I'm like, I always forget one of them. So I'm with you on, you don't want to forget the reliability one, but yeah.
I mean, that's just like funny, right? It's like a joke in a joke, but no, I've never forgotten it. But I always wonder, like, when will my memory fail me?
Take me through them for a second. So start with the F, and then how did you come up with that one?
Yeah. So F is for focus, and so we just felt that, just as a company, we're in a service niche, right? So we're not a digital agency. There's a whole lot more things that we don't do than things we actually do. So just kind of like from a macro perspective, we are very focused on social media marketing. And then I think just beyond that, it's meant to, I guess, aspirationally also inculcate and emphasize the approach that we want our team to have, which is very focused. So you have to be focused if you want to, solve a challenge, or if you want to dominate whatever field you're in, you want to hit those KPIs out of the park. It's like, you got to focus. So I think that is, because I personally don't like working with people who are not focused, and they just are all over the place and they're quoting stuff. It's like, I don't want all that. I just want someone who knows exactly what they're doing, and I don't have to figure it out. They're going to tell me, like, this is what you should do to be successful.
They have a specialization.
Specialization. So it's like, I encourage our team, and they do this. It's like, hey, listen, I would not do that. Well, our CEO thinks it's going to work. Well, I guess there's always a chance it could work for the first time, but in general, no, that doesn't work, right? So I think that's focus. That's where the focus comes from.
Before we get to the next one, Duncan, I want you to demystify social media marketing for a second, because we hear that thrown around, because I know you do both organic and paid social media marketing. So just explain to people a little bit more about what you do in the social media marketing realm.
I mean, that is a really, I guess, kind of foundational question. Is like, why should a company do social media, right? And what do we do? And so I think at the top level, when we think about it, and to distill it down, we make brands more likable and we make them more profitable. Now, we can only go so far along the way to make them profitable, right? Because that's the whole rubric on its own. But as far as getting them the right kind of people's attention, helping them build credibility, help them move people through a funnel on social media, so they're going from not knowing the brand to knowing the brand, to engaging the brand, to going and making some kind of a conversion purchase, right? So that's the reason I think that's what we try to do, or what we work on doing, and what we do. I think that when I think about distilling social media marketing down to a couple of reasons why it's important to do it. And the first one is social credibility. So the audience out there now is uber sophisticated. The average grandma is pretty sophisticated and like savvy with mobile experiences and social experiences and internet experiences. And then you got people who are in their teen years. They're kind of the bottom of the Z's, and the ones beyond the Z's. I'm trying to think what our children, what generation they are. I can't think of it at the moment. But, they expect you to be kind of alive and well and present and vocal and, there to be activity around your brand. It's sort of like, if there's not if there's not a village around this brand, is everything okay?
Yeah, I mean, we experience it like when we we're going to restaurants, and it could be like the best restaurant in the world, and if there's like two people in there, you're wondering in the back of your mind, is this that good of a restaurant? I mean, you want to see the activity.
Yeah.
So I totally get what you're saying.
The only exception to that would be if you went to like a super high-end sushi restaurant, they only seated 4 people. But otherwise, you expect to, where are the people, right? Where are the people? Why are there not more people here? Why are there no reviews? If there are reviews, what kind of, are they shill-like reviews or are they real reviews? What does the brand stand for? I mean, Firebelly is fire, but what does the brand stand for? Like, we'll get clients that say to us like, hey, listen, I want to be confident, but authoritative, right? That's a certain set of values, and that voice comes from there. It's like, we are the authority on this subject. So I think that, people want to feel that. They want to feel that. And I mean, and think about this. I know I'm skipping ahead, but, think about this. It's like, stories are such a wonderful way to communicate all those things. Like today, one of our clients told someone on their team, like, don't write a story. And he sent a picture with it. He said, don't write a story about, this is a fork. I keep the fork in the right drawer. The benefit of using the fork is it is very helpful to get the broccoli from your plate to your mouth. And he said, instead, say, hey, this is an amazing fork, because this fork has been in our family for 60 years or 80 years. And my grandmother, when she was in Germany, she used to make a certain recipe on Saturday, which we now all make together. And this is the fork we would use to eat it. This is the actual fork. And I mean, one is a kind of factual but devoid of emotional experience. And the other one is like, wow, I'm seeing the context. I'm connecting with you and your love for your grandma. I think that is an opportunity that social gives you. Now, do most brands use that? No, they don't. But it's like, our common friend, Danny Schumann, says, it's like, that's the opportunity, is to connect through the story, especially if you know where the buyer is in their journey, right? You use a story to connect. We've been connecting over stories since we were sitting around fires, involuntarily. So,
no, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I would encourage people to check out that episode with Danny Schumann. He worked with Gatorade and directly with Michael Jordan during those years. Are there any other lessons you've learned from other episodes on the Firebelly show?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so many. I think that, with Jim Snedeker, I learned about, the value of people, not just sounding and acting in the personality of the brand, but to also be clothed in attire that reflects the brand's values. So maybe it's like recycled cotton, or it's a fairly loose fitting pair of pants. It might have like a badge or like some kind of flair. And I learned that, and that also, they don't actually actively go after people on, using paid media. Their social is all about, where are they? What is he taking? Where are they drinking or eating? Who was the chef? Who did what? Where did they go? Did they hang out with some people? And it's all about this sort of like presenting this uber connected vibe, right? And if you think about it, he works in the restaurant and boutique hotels and some of the best brands in the world. This guy is communicating that kind of cred and vibe and role with pictures without actually saying like, hey, we mix with some of the top brands in the world. You just see it, right? And it's ethos, and it's like suggested credibility. But it's such an amazing opportunity. I think Danny's approach is, to me, such a breakthrough, because it's about the oral like story, like the tech story via text, not and in a world of social media, which is like dominated by visuals, he talks about the value of the word, being the word person, because you're telling the story as opposed to showing the story. Now, of course, like they show the story, it's lazier and easier experience. You see it, you don't have to do any work. With the words, you got to like suggest them down a path.
I mean, there's a time and a place for both. I don't know if it's lazier, but it's it's so effective because we're so visual.
Correct.
So the focus, the next is the eye. So
The eye, yeah.
talking about the eye.
I mean, it's interesting because I actually have like some video content I recently did where it's like I was talking about someone asking us, if we had become a diverse firm that we could get some boxes checked and get some business out of it. And I thought it was kind of like a really hilarious question because, I mean, if you look at me, like I'm an Indian guy, right? I'm clearly Indian, although some Native Americans have thought I'm Middle Eastern. But but beyond that, it's like our vice president is gay. The majority of our team are women. And I felt like, diversity of thought and approach and background is so key, but also like respecting us and us respecting the people we work with, that being the sort of like, we're I want to make sure that my team is protected and we pick, and have a pleasant, a stimulating place to work, and that our clients feel like that we're that kind of agency, so it's a heavy values play, man. I never thought that, I would hit the world, go to market with such an approach with so heavy on values, but it is just a game changer. How you see the world sees you. It's like you got to talk the talk, but you definitely got to walk the walk, I feel. So yeah, that's the I, integrity.
Yeah, I love that. So we focus, integrity, and then the R.
The reliability, which I remembered. See, so I think that reliability in our world is critical because I think, you don't actually have to deliver. If you say you're going to deliver $100 worth of work, you just have to deliver the $100 worth of work, because the world is so commonly plagued by people that give you 90 or 95 or 98, that just giving 100 is high performance, right? And then if you go beyond that, that's perfect. So, but showing up, I think, and showing up and consistently doing the best work we can, and owning mistakes, is part of it. Because if you're going to be reliable, you're going to know, how you failed and fail forward, fail quickly, get up and don't do it again, right? Or if you do it again, don't do it a third time. But I think that reliability is like, it's so much, we're going to show up, not just, to get it done, but we're going to hit those values. We're going to tell you what's real. And I think that is something that actually part of the integrity piece is that I'm talking to someone this Thursday tomorrow. And, they said, we want to know what it's going to take, to get to X, million units or whatever. And I was like, I appreciate you asking me that question. I said this, I appreciate you asking me the question, but you have to understand that I'm coming in to work on one aspect of your entire brand, right? I'm going to work on awareness, engagement, and get people there. I didn't pick the positioning. I didn't pick the design. I didn't pick the offer. Can we input into that? We can, but we're just starting out. I feel like to be reliable, I got to also tell you, like, this is not going to work, as much as I'm going to tell you what to do. So yeah, it's a very hard position, I think, for small agencies to be in, because you want to say yes, but you're actually hurting yourself by saying yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like what you said, Duncan, it's a setting expectation thing, because, you have control over this small piece, and it's a big piece, but it's over, the grand scheme, there's a lot of other factors that go into it. And like you said, you don't have control. Like, hey, can we play with the price? Like, no, they determine the pricing, they determine everything else. And so walk me through a funnel a little bit. So just so I can experience it. So you will talk to the brand and you will find out the inner depths of their background stories. And then how does that translate into social media, which translates into beyond? How does the initial process start for you to, even when you start engaging with the brand, to start working with them?
Yeah. So, the two reasons that a brand is on social media, or the social opportunity for a brand is, social credibility. And hopefully that's leading or is deeply connected to revenue generation, so, and the model for revenue generation with social specifically is to, of course, you got to move people and, move people down the funnel, which I'm getting ready to explain. But also, I think you got to think about specifically the people that you're moving, like which stage are they in, right? And so you actually don't have just one funnel, you have a bunch of funnels, but if someone that, let's say, someone that knows that Firebelly exists and has had an employee that failed at social media, and social media agency they didn't like, right? That's going to be someone that is, more than slightly aware of what they want and, who they want to work with even. So that person, at the top of the funnel for them, you're going to send them, and how you figure that out is that, you're somehow, it's disruptive. So you're targeting people and, you're going to hopefully catch someone in that right mindset, but you're going to communicate who you are and what you do. That's at the top of the funnel, hopefully via video or something like that, right? So you're connecting with them with a bigger context. Based on the way these algorithms work, once we've maintained some kind of connection with you, it becomes easier to retarget you, and easier, more likely that you would see something from us. And then at this point, we're going to hopefully invite you into the world and say, okay, this is the world of Thirsty Fox cider. And at Thirsty Fox, we listen to kind of old soul. And, we might suggest to you that you have kind of a global palette of appetizers with this cider. So we're inviting you into the world at this point, right? And you're saying, oh, well, I like that. I'm looking forward to some tahini and some, and some hummus and crackers, and I'm going to open a Thirsty Fox cider. And but then you even got the music, right? And so we're creating the vibe. And then the next time we're going to say, hey, listen, do you want to check out the Thirsty Fox, varietals on the website? And now you're going to go check it out, and maybe you'll see another video, or you'll see, I feel they've got 3 varieties. I'm going to order all 3, and you're going to hit that order button, right? And so we've gone from just about your first instance where you just have heard about or seen in visuals this Thirsty Fox experience. Now you're going to engage with the world, and then if maybe sooner or later you'll go to the website and you'll buy something, or you'll go to a store and you'll order a Thirsty Fox. So that's an example of a funnel. But I think that's what you want to do with social. You want to get people into the credibility in the stories via organic, and you can do that with ads too. But you're telling the story and you're targeting people. You're targeting people maybe that you want people that look like the people that are already coming to your website, or whose emails you have, and you're going to find people that look like them. So you can directly target, you can retarget, and then you can do things that are lookalike. So I think
what
it's a huge
on the engagement end. Because once I'm sure they're engaging with comments and likes and other things. How does the engagement piece work?
So I'll pick the approach to answer it with, and you can tell me if I'm on the right track or not. I think that, the engagement, it's really like, it's a natural instinct of a human being to engage with something, but that they're interested in, but they haven't committed to buying it. Even if they buy it, they still want to stay connected with the world that's from, right? So I think that it's a demonstration of intent. It's a demonstration of involvement. And so, then you have to assess, is a like, the same as a support or care icon, or the same as a share, or the same as a comment, or the same as a comment that is, with emojis or with actual words and an insight. And so there's opportunity there. And especially with conversations at scale, smaller conversations, 30, 40 comments, can't pull a whole lot out of that trend wise, but you can still see some insights. When you're looking at the conversation at scale, then you can see look, here's the sentiment. The sentiment is maybe it's too positive, are we too negative? What's happening? We don't know. Or there's too much lacking in positivity. But you can look at video views. You can look at, the percentage of the view that someone completed in terms of watching. You can look at, all these emotional responses and the insights. So I think that I always say that, that a lot of brands are just missing it with that, because instead of just focusing on new sales, it's you got a gold mine in your audience, right? That audience is pure gold. There's so much work to build an audience like that when you get it, focus on that audience first. And then, alternatively, or in a parallel sense, look at the people that you want to bring in.
So we have,
does that make sense? I don't know if I answered you.
No, it makes perfect sense. No, I just like to hear your thought process, because people come in here, I think maybe think about this sometimes with I could be wrong, unrealistic expectations. Like, all right, Duncan, we want to sell 1 million of these things. Well, you're like, okay, well, we could get people through here, and then it's sort of the job of your product and operations and things that have to be in place for it to get to the next level. You have an input into, so much, I guess you could say.
Yeah, think about it. Even the name, like we're typically like, at the level that we're coming in with like limited but high impact campaigns. It's like our scope is not to get a client to change his or her name, right? So there's just a lot that's out of our realm. We have to work within a very specific realm.
Yeah. So we have focus, integrity, reliability, and then the E.
The E is for excellence. It's like I guess it is highly reliant on people doing the best job they can. So I want people to communicate at their best. I want people to be their best. I want people to expect the best from themselves. And we look for those kinds of people, and when we have them, we help them to get better. And it's obviously a two-way process. Company gets better and company makes the people better. And so I think not only finding the right people, we talk about the right person in the right seat at the right time, but also not just finding the person, but keeping the person engaged, right? Because I'll give an example, of someone on my team, Taylor Carlier. She's a highly engaged person. When she is in her zone, she is just so engaged. She's very passionate about doing the right thing. And there's so many people like that on our team. I just picked Taylor, but she will make a very passionate case for why you should do something. And that's because she wants it to be the best. She knows that we've done this 10 times before, and all 10 times we did it a certain way, right? So if we're trying to find you the most direct path from A to B, let's try the ways that we already know will work before we test, new ways, which we're going to do. But I think excellence is about, again, it's like, you want to do the best work. And yeah, sure, we've won all kinds of awards. The ones that are noteworthy to me, the Sprout social award, one of the best companies in the social media management platform space, and our partner, we're their partner. And they have a very difficult to win award or a space. It's and hundreds of agencies competing for a award where the agency goes above and beyond. We won that in 2018, but I still think it's a very valuable and meaningful award because it's really, you're getting judged by your peers, and it's a voting thing. And of course, Sprout. And then also, we won, we didn't win. We went to the finals for the Shorties a couple of years ago. And the Shorties, that's like the Academy Awards for social media. And so, our client Noble Romans went up against Qdoba. I'm sorry, not Qdoba. What's the other one? Chipotle. And so it's like you got to think about Noble Romans is a small regional brand, and awesome brand, but they're a regional brand, and Chipotle is a global brand. And so it's pretty great honor to go do that. But I think that just is representative. Who cares about the awards? It's a nice validation that you're doing the right work, but at the end of the day, you want to do your best, because I feel like in the world we live in and the agency world, Firebelly lives in, you're only as good as the work you're doing right now. Right? You can't tell a client like, hey, I did a great campaign for you in 2017. It's like, hey, buddy, that was 4 years ago. What are we doing now? How did Janet Jackson say it, Dr. Jeremy? What have you done for me lately? So that's why I think the excellence, it's like, hey, why not just go out and be excellent, and then you don't have to like correct for it later.
I love it. So we have the focus, integrity, the reliability, and the excellence. And, I really want to kind of hit home on one piece, which is you mentioned the conversion piece. And you talk about conversion begins on social. I've heard you talk about that. What do you mean by that?
So, there's a lot of different things that conversion means to a lot of people. I kind of subscribe to the Site Tuners approach to conversion. Their partner, F.I.R.E, great partners. Their founder wrote the actual book, Landing Page Optimization, Tim Ash did. And my opinion of conversion is that you are, as an organization or as a person even, right? You're moving people through a series of decisions. And each time they make a decision, it is a conversion of their mindset. So they're deciding to watch your video. And when they watch the video, it is a conversion. It's called a view, but it's a conversion. When they decide to hit the like button or hit subscribe, it's a conversion. When they decide to engage with the brand, that's a conversion. When they decide to go to the website, that click through rate and that click is a conversion. When they get to the site, they see the trust symbols and they don't experience any psychological friction. Everything looks good. The offer is what they expected it to be. The price is consistent. There's no funny business. It looks like a real site. They belong to all these great organizations. They've been around for 25 years. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to buy it. Now, in some cases, you won't go that deep, right? But so conversion happens like the whole way through. And in many ways, the thing I try to tell, people, we tell people all the time is like, in some ways, the top of the funnel is maybe more important because that's how you're getting them into your world, right? And so when you're telling me just focus on getting me website traffic, it's like, hey, you're not developing your audience and it's greedy. It's very greedy. It's like, what, you haven't done anything for me as a consumer, but you want me to go buy your product. It's like, no, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to kiss you. So I think that conversion is critical and it begins right at the top of the funnel.
Duncan, I have one last question, and I appreciate you walking me through this because now I have the demystification of social media, and I can kind of understand where Firebelly comes from. And before I ask it, I want to point people towards wherever you think we should have them watch. They should, go to firebellymarketing.com. They should check out the podcast. Where else should we point people towards online to learn more?
Yeah, that's sure. So you can email us, hello@firebellymarketing.com. You could go to firebellymarketing.com, the website. I think in general on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, we are Firebelly. We're active in all those places. We have actually different content in those places too. Like the Facebook page has little Facebook lives from time to time. So those are kind of fun and interesting and educational. But yeah, those are the ways to get a hold of us.
I know. So last question, Duncan, I know that you help a lot of brands. You help a lot of mission-based brands. So you're like, what's he going to ask me right now? My question is, what are some of your favorite brands? Maybe it's food, maybe it's drink, maybe it's whatever. What are some of your favorites personally?
I mean, that's a great question. The ones that come to mind immediately are Rishi teas. Rishi teas, they have so many great teas. But my favorite, which just always makes a day better for me, is their ginger and turmeric. It's just a great flavor. I love what they do on social media. They have lots of just talking about the product and the value, and it just feels like warm and like time well spent when I go check out their social. I like C2O. It's a coconut water brand. That's
I love C2O. That's like one of my favorite coconut waters.
You love kombucha. I didn't know you like coconut water. Yeah, that's my jam. Coconut water.
For a period of time, Duncan, I would order a crate of young Thai coconuts every month and actually go through them. So that is such an amazing experience to have an actual coconut, right? It's such a visceral experience. You cut the top of the coconut off, and then you got to make sure the water doesn't spill, and it's going to be juicy and put your spoon in depending on you said young coconuts, right? Young Thai coconut. Yeah. So,
oh man, so creamy, right?
It's delicious. Yeah. The actual water, and then scoop the meat out, and So the C2O, the reason I say this, it's like, if I look at, there's nothing like the actual thing, but that is definitely the next product that if I can't have the real thing, I would want that.
I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot of rubbish coconut water on the market. I think that I've probably tried about 30 different flavors, all over the place. I've tried most of the American brands, and some of them are decent. And then I've tried the ones at the Asian grocery store, right? So the brands I don't even know the names of, like Japanese brands and, Korean brands. And it's like, man, that C2O is it's the most authentic, like coconut water. You don't feel like it's been manipulated in any way.
Yeah. C2O, Rishi, any other coconut waters or any other brands?
Well, I recently, I'm biased with this one. I recently have been drinking hop water, and we're actually interviewing them for our podcast in a couple of weeks. But hop water, it's such an amazing drink. I mean, it's definitely, if your dad or grandpa was a Budweiser fan, you may love Budweiser. For me, I just am not. That's their beer, not my beer. And so I like it because it's like kombucha to you, right? It's sparkling. And it's got like a hop flavor, which is pleasurable. And then it got a little blood orange, and they got some nootropics and ashwagandha and like all that like stuff that's good for you. So I like those guys a lot. They're good guys. And then, of course, you introduced me to my main man. I feel like we should just call him Dr. Rusty Jones, right? Dr. Rusty Jones from Hello Water. I love what Hello Water is doing. I actually started drinking it regularly. And so I'm a little bit biased towards the beverages, Jeremy.
I could tell. It's like, we just need to get as many water companies on as possible on the podcast, like Hop Water, Hello Water. I have a connection at C2O. I don't know if they're willing to come on, but that would be interesting.
I love beverage in general, like this sort of like, deep water experience. It's like, it's not people that are going to drink like, your bullshit grocery store or like gas station water. Like, it's like, even if you, even for that level of sort of casual purchase, like there are people that will go for Fiji, for example, because there's a perception, there's a brand around it, right? But I feel like there's so many strata of water. I mean, it's just amazing, right? And, water with like therapeutic benefits, water with vitamins in them, water. It's just like, to me, it is very clever, and it's just fascinating.
And then I think you're going to have the Wild Tonic people on at some point too, right? The kombucha company.
Yes. God, love that.
That will be interesting. I can't wait to hear that. So, Duncan, I think I'd like to, you should take a different genre and talk about your favorites at the end of each one. And, but I totally appreciate you having me. Everyone check out firebellymarketing.com. Check out more episodes. Duncan, thanks so much.
See you on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.